What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the SlipCast. My name's Anthony. I'm going to be your host. Currently riding solo. Don't have anybody to record with or talk to about any specific matters. But I feel like what I want to do with this specific podcast is go a little bit in depth on who I am as a person, what I do, who I am, essentially. But I guess the only way to really break the ice is just to get right into it, right? Usually, I mean, who the fuck is the pussy that goes and like dips their toes in some cold water in the pool? Just jump in. You'll get used to it. So, here we go. But here's a little bit about me. 20 years old. I'm going on 21 in July. I have a lot of different kinds of interests that pertain to a lot of different subjects. I love cars. I love talking about them, learning about them. I'm no mechanic, and I'm no genius, but I got right here, like right in front of me. I was trying to work on how to figure out the compression ratio of an engine based off of an equation. And it's fucking baffling me. How inferior my brain structure is for something like that. I just can't figure it out. But, stuff like that. I love video games. I love computers. Obviously, I have this beautiful 3-monitor setup that at the age of 16, it was a huge dream of mine to have something like this. Because I feel like the reason I love this setup so much is that I built it by myself. Like everything that sits in front of me I paid for, or the microphone was a gift, but everything else that sits in front of me I purchased. I worked hard and I saved up money to do what I wanted to do with this, and I love it. I think you can tell I love cars though, because you look over on my home screen, a nice big, I'm gonna say it's a Honda NSX because it looks like it's left side drive, but an Acura NSX. But that's just one of the things that I love about living life, is that I live in a day and age where there are different kinds of cars, there are different types of motors. There's the technology. God, the technology is so advanced, and I get to live in a time period where these cars are actually existing. I could be 60 years old right now and have no idea what you mean by JDM. What the fuck does that mean? EDM? What does that even mean? It doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm happy that I live in this day and age. I'm happy that I have the people around me that I do today, because a lot of them are also interested in the same shit I am. My nose is extremely itchy right now. What else? I love video games. Not so much now as I used to. I used to bury my face in games, especially the older consoles. My first console, I guess you can say console, it was handheld. It was the DS. The Nintendo DS, I got it on Christmas Day in 2006. And with it came a lot of amazing memories. I remember the first time I got Pokemon, and I sat there and I just continued to play. The first time I ever did it, I fucked up so bad. I didn't understand what the PC system was. So I just caught a bunch of Bidoof and wanted to die, because it was the most useless Pokemon ever. And I didn't understand the Sinnoh region very much. I didn't understand the stats in it. I just wanted to play with the Pokemon because I loved the anime. But then I restarted the game. I found out how to do that. And I remember when I still had the Bidoof, I remember trying to release them just through my party, which you can't do, but it made sense because that's what you did in the anime, and I thought that the games were more in tied with the anime than they were. So I ended up deleting the profile and creating another character, same name. First Pokemon ever was in Chimchar. I loved Infernape. Infernape to this day is still my favorite Pokemon. Bring Infernape into Smash, because that shit would be hot. I'd play that. I'd play that character so fucking much then. I'd learn everything about him. Man. But time goes. Time goes fast. And I played in every region since, mostly through the games. I own the games. Some of them had to be by ROM, like Fire Red. But I played through the other ones. I got all the cartridges and shit for it still. Oh, and that's an alarm. I don't know what for, though. Well, that marks 11 a.m. here. It's Sunday. It's fucking raining outside. But yeah, so I started with the DS. My dad gave me a PS2. His PS2 when he got the PS3. Like when it first came out, so it only had like 4 gigs of storage on it. So disgusting. And I remember playing like Midnight Club. And from a very young age, I loved cars. I didn't understand a lot about them, but I just knew that, hey, that car looks cool, or that car is fucking sick, or, And then one day, when I got a little bit older, I was like, you know what? I think I'm a little bit more interested in them than I thought. Donut Media had a lot to do with it. Teaching me about specific parts and components inside of a motor vehicle. The different kinds of gas, and the different kind of gas motors and rotaries and, all that stuff, you name it. And then it just steadily, I got more and more interested. Like, holy shit, they put basically 2 inline 6 motors together and made a W12. And the pistons are not aligned with each other in a straight row. Like, what the hell is this? They shape a W. That's crazy. So, it's not that crazy anymore. I mean, I've learned more about them, but at the time, it was something that was so ridiculous, I didn't understand it. And I wasn't able to comprehend it as much as I wish I could, especially back in the day. But something great about having a childhood the way I did, and I'm not saying my childhood was great, nor was it bad, but it was my parents let me find enjoyment in whatever it was that I wanted to find enjoyment in. They never judged me based on what I liked or what I didn't like, and they were just like, okay, well, you like it? Cool. You don't like it? Well, sucks. But I'm not in college. I don't know if I'll go back. It's kind of I'm at a point in my life where I'm kind of in a stuck situation. I don't know what to do. I'm not anxious about it, although I do suffer sometimes from anxiety. Depends on what's going on around me. Obviously, right now we got the coronavirus, and people are going frantic and haywire, and they're fucking losing their minds, and it's like, because you have to stay at home? Is that really the worst thing in the world? I know that Americans have this, I work to live, but it's not that mentality. It's to live to work. They live to work. People don't really just like want to spend the rest of their days doing absolutely nothing. You'll find those few people that do. Those like gamers that would rather game all day. I don't see it. I can't sit here and video game all day anymore. I'll get bored. And it's not particularly my fault. I feel like it's the contents of video games nowadays. Like, everything has to be multiplayer. Everything has to be online. Everything has to, like this. I'm excited for The Last of Us 2. I remember getting The Last of Us, the first one, when I first got my PS3. It was in 2013. I got it on Christmas Day. I know it's a little late, right? Because the PS4 was coming out, but I loved the shit out of that game. The first time I tried to play it through, I fucking got so scared that I put it down and couldn't play it anymore. Went back and did it during the daytime and was still scared shitless. And I'm not even a big fan of like scary games like that. I don't find the enjoyment in it. But it was the storytelling that Naughty Dog did with The Last of Us that hooked me in. That's the reason I play video games, is for that story. I'll play GTA Online. There's not much of a story to that, but it's different than other MMOs. You have a lot of freedom. A lot of freedom to do whatever the fuck you want. Spend all your money on how or what the fuck you want. And I find enjoyment in that. I play with my in real life best friend all the time on that game when we can find the time. I also love the customization for cars, and even though some of them look really fucking ricey, I still find enjoyment in it. So much so that I own it on 3 different platforms. I've owned it on PS3, I own it on PS4, and I own it on my PC. And I've beaten them all. I've beaten every one of them, even though there's no point in continuing to beat them. I just love the story. Minecraft is a good example of something that doesn't have a storyline, but you don't need a storyline to find enjoyment in. You don't need to play with someone. You get the creative ability to be freely, like, I guess you'd look at Minecraft as basically a blank piece of paper if you're a drawer, or you're a writer, or you're a painter, or, you as that artist can do whatever the fuck you want to it. It's your canvas. And in Minecraft, you can do whatever the fuck you want with it. It's your canvas. You're only limited by the shape of the blocks and your own creativity. But you can do anything. People make fucking face sculptures and that shit. Which I understand there's things that people use, like third-party software and shit, to figure out the dimensions of the picture and how you'd have to do it in Minecraft or whatever, but they still do it. They put the time in, they put the effort in, and it's obvious that they love doing it. They love having that picture of William H. Macy fingering his butthole. I don't know. Or fucking putting Elmo in. And I respect that. I respect that you have that love for that. With cars, I feel like, and I was talking to my coworker yesterday about this. Owning a car, you should want to drive it. You should want to take it out. You should want to show it. If you're not a car guy, or you're not a car girl, or you don't really give a shit about car culture, then hey, it's an A to B to you. But to people in the car community, like, who just love amazing rides that don't look like shit, and who have passion, who aren't just complete utter dicks when you don't agree with them, or who have some sensibility, those people, I respect the hell out of them. And I love people. I love meeting people who are like that. I've learned so much from people like that. You own this car. I don't look at a car as just a car. I don't look at a car as just being something to get me from A to B. I look at a car as a blank canvas. That's my blank sheet of paper. That's my Minecraft to those people who build those portraits, who build fucking castles, who build entire cities. You guys put in that time. I want to put in that time on a vehicle. I want to make that vehicle not just fast, not just sound good. I want to make it look fucking beautiful. I want people to look at that car and go, damn, that's a nice car. You did a great job. And it's not for the recognition. It's for my own personal pride, I guess. It's not based off of pride. It's based off of my want to look at something and think that that's beautiful. The way I look at my girlfriend. Like you're just beautiful. Everything about you, all your curves, all your edges, right? Fucking John Legend. Guy was a genius when he made that song. But the point being, you have this blank canvas and you can do whatever you want with it. I don't understand why people get fucking $40 million cars because they're so damn rare just to have them in a garage sit, where they'll have a detailer come every week just to clean the car up and make it look nice again. Why not drive it? Why not bring it out? Well, because it's worth $40 million, and the parts to replace it are going to be fucking expensive because they don't make them anymore. Excuse me. A good example is the Bugatti black car. It's named the black car, and it's written in French. I don't know how to pronounce it or even what the hell the name is in French. But I know it as a black car, and when they originally developed it, they only made 4 models. Ralph Lauren is one of those owners of the 4 models, and it's at like a worth of $30 million. $30 million for a fucking piece of metal that can move. It's the culture behind it. Why would you pay that much money? I wouldn't pay that much money. If I was Ralph Lauren, I would never pay that much money for a car. I would rather make my car worth $30 million than to buy a car that's worth $30 million already. Shit, I'll buy a fucking Honda Civic and put a shit ton of money in it. If I had money like Ralph Lauren, if I had pockets like that fucking man, I would go and spend it on the car sitting in front of me. Shit, I'd buy a Honda NSX or an Acura NSX, preferably Honda because it's right side drive. It's right-hand drive. But that's the beauty of it. Everybody can go and do whatever they want, right? That's the freedom of you making your own decision. I mean, that's $100,000 car right there. And even though it's $100,000, and $100,000 is no slouch, it's the reason why it's worth so much is because people have made it worth that much. The people's want, their demand for it is so high that it's worth $100,000. Same thing with the Supra. The Supra in a straight line, oh hell, it'll whoop the NSX's ass. Whoop its ass. Variable valve timing, 24 valves, cast iron block, 3.0 liters, aluminum head, inline 6, twin turbo, and the higher trims. The 2JZ GTE itself is worth 3 to 4 to 5 to maybe even $10,000 depending on how many miles it has and how much wear it has. With a transmission, it's about $5,000 just for a $3,000 motor. If you want a good transmission, if you want something, if you're gonna build the shit out of it, let's say you get a sequential transmission or a high end like a manual transmission that can take a shit ton of torque and not blow itself up. It's like $5,000-6,000. You're just for a motor. I have a Chevy Cruze. The motor in that is not even worth $1,000. It's worth like $800. I can buy a new motor for $800. But that's the beauty of car culture, is that we make it we determine what the price is going to be. What would someone pay for this? And people will pay for it. You're seeing more and more R32s out on the road. And although they're like $40,000 with taxes and with shipping, and because you can't get them in America, you have to get them imported from Japan. So you're spending $40,000 upwards, depending on the mileage, of course, for an R32. And that R32, inevitably is going to be worked on. You're going to do something to it. You don't buy a Nissan Skyline GTR with the expectations of not doing anything with it. You buy it so that you can, show it off, first of all. Plus, you love the car. You want the car. And second, you want to do something to that car. You want to make that bitch purr. Put a 3-inch titanium exhaust. Why the fuck not? You have the money to? Do it. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Put a big fat turbo in there. Put some 30, 40 pounds of boost if you can. I don't know how much the motor can take. But that motor inside of it is also one of the highest, is expensive as fuck. The RB26 DETT. It's one of my favorite sounding engines of all time. I'll never get a Nissan Skyline. I will never do it. I'll never do it. No. If I could get something that I wanted, I'd get an Evo. Or I'd get a WRX. I'd get... the WRX, man. See, I'm going off on a tangent. I started talking about myself, and now I'm talking about fucking different cars with different motors and pricings, and let's go back a little bit, because I was talking to my coworker yesterday, and I was like, I would never buy a car for $30 million because I would want, with that $30 million, I could get any car I wanted and modify it to do whatever the fuck I wanted. If I had a garage the size of the space that we're sitting in right now, I'd fill it with a bunch of cars and work on them all. And I would just be happy. I would be fine. I wouldn't have to worry about anything. I could live my life with satisfaction. But buying a $30 million car and not driving it, where's the satisfaction in that? It's just and this is the argument he made with me, and he wasn't trying to argue with me or anything. He was just saying, and as a perspective, take the Mona Lisa. Someone's going to buy the Mona Lisa. If they took it out of, I think it's in the Louvre right now. I'm not sure. If they took it out of the Louvre, someone's going to buy it. Someone wants to buy it. And it's going to be expensive as fuck. Because it's a piece of art. And that was the argument he was making. He was saying, you have to look at it like it's art. That's why they buy it. That's why they, And I was like, right, but you can't do anything with a painting. You just hang it up. You put it on display. You can't do anything with a statue. You just put it somewhere and let it display. Right? Because you can't do anything. What, are you going to modify the statue? You just ruin the statue. It's no longer a piece of art made by that person. And that's another thing, is that I made this argument with him. I was like, you look at Mona Lisa and you look at fucking the thinking man. Those are other people's art. Other people's art. You look at the black car, Bugatti black car. It's someone else's work of art. Someone else designed that and built that and made that a figment of reality. But you won't even do anything with the car. Instead, you'll let it sit. I'd like to take a car and make it my piece of art. Even though the NSX comes off the line looking beautiful, I want to make it look like what I want it to look like. I can modify it. There's so much aftermarket capability with those cars, especially with JDM. JDM vehicles, Hondas, Mazdas, oh man, the Mazdas, Toyota, Nissan, huge in the car industry, huge in car culture. Of course, you get EDM. There's a lot of amazing cars in EDM. There's a lot of BMWs. If you're going to find EDM cars, typically they're BMWs or AMGs, but mostly BMWs. From what I see. I mean, but that's the beauty of it. That even though you have all these cars, not one car is the same, because you can always do something to change it from the rest of the pack. Anyways, so that's one of the main reasons why I love cars. It's one of the main reasons why I even cooperate with people in the car community, because sharing ideas or looking at cars with certain parts on them or watching people's builds, like that shit gives me light. I love watching them. I love seeing someone do it, because it's not that it's like, oh dude, that car looks amazing. It's the fact that you're so excited about this car. You're so excited about your build because it's yours. It's your car. You did this. You are so happy you created something, and I love that art. I love that type of art, and I love to see the excitement in people's eyes. You know, there's a lot of people in the like car community on YouTube and stuff, and I watch a lot of different people do a lot of different shit. You know, Donut Media did the high and low series. I thought it was fantastic. Now they're doing Money Pit, where I forget what his name is, but he owns an NA Miata. The one with the pop-up headlights, for people who don't understand the NA. But they have the pop-up headlights, and it's got a drop top, so it's convertible. He's just taking a bunch of money and he's throwing it into this car, and he's making it's his car, and he wants to do stuff to this car. And he's doing it. He gets to live that, and I get to watch him do that, and it's exciting. I wait for Money Pit every week to see what he's going to do. Last week he did, what did he do? He did sway bars. And sway bars are connected to the chassis, and connected to the struts, or the coils, or whatever you want to call them. And it helps maintain a center of balance, so that when you're turning the vehicle and the weight is pushed to one side of the vehicle, let's say you're going left, all the weight is pushed to the right side because the momentum there is being moved, instead of just completely crumbling and you like turning so much to where you're like moving out of your seat. You add sway bars, you know, which is what he did. You prevent a lot of that body roll, which is what it's called. It's when the center of gravity shifts because you're turning the vehicle. When you're in dead center, you won't feel the sway bars. The sway bars will have no effect until you turn. The week prior to that, he was gonna do the sway bars, but instead his roommate was like, well, why don't we try and make the Miata shoot flames? And now, in order for the whole entire idea of shooting flames is where using exhaust gases mixing with it sent out the exhaust, right? Exhaust gases are sent out the exhaust. Everyone knows that. But when you shoot flames, you're allowing for a little bit of oil or just a little bit of gas to be forced out of the exhaust manifold, and because it's so hot in there, it sets fire, and it causes a mini explosion inside the exhaust manifold, and it's then sent through the exhaust, and you'll get a little pop, or you'll get a little flame that comes out, depending on how much was burnt. Now, if you have anti-lag or two-step, anti-lag is where if you have a turbocharged motor, you are having a little bit of gas be pushed into the hot end of the turbo, which then sets fire, causing an explosion, which then spins a spool, this turbine that's connected to the intake side of the turbo through a rod. And so this spool up, it causes an explosion, and it sends more than it should. Anti-lag is very bad on the turbo because you're constantly exploding in the turbo. But what it's doing is it's giving you instant boost, and on top of that, you're going to start shooting flames because it's so hot. And that's the beauty of it. So they wanted to make the Miata shoot flames, and the Miata is naturally aspirated. The only other way to do that is if you have a two-step program, which typically only works with a turbocharger, but if you've tune the car to do whatever it is that you want it to, then you could get it out of it fine. And he put an aftermarket exhaust on it, I think the week before that. And so he knew that they were never going to be able to shoot flames because the ECU and the Miata, they didn't have a tune for it. No one has a tune for it. It's not a standalone ECU, so you couldn't tune it. So instead, he decided to get a canister of, I think it was propane, like the shit you used to light grills with. And he took his old exhaust and he took the old exhaust and he put holes in the exhaust towards the tip, and it was connected using these like bells that would there was a spark bell, and then there was the injection bell, and the injection bell was to inject the propane into the exhaust, and hopefully it would be set aflame by the hot gases that are coming out of the exhaust. But the exhaust was dimming it down. There wasn't enough going through. So then they put the spark in, and the spark wasn't working for it either because it was getting so diluted by the exhaust gases that there was just like it was barely any propane coming out. So he took a lot of different paths to try and get this to fucking work, and one of them was he changed the ignition timing. And so, when you change ignition timing, you'll get knocking. It's not a very good idea to do it in any motor. Luckily, he has the 1.8. If he had the 1.6, I really wouldn't have. No, just disgusting. But he had the 1.8, so a little bit stronger. Luckily, he didn't blow the motor. But it didn't work. Obviously, it didn't work. There was still too much exhaust, and it wasn't working for him. And so, he, instead of just, giving up, he decides, hey, dude, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. It's going to happen eventually. And so he took one of the spark plugs out of one of the cylinders. And what that does, the spark plug in any petrol or gasoline motor is to set fire to to air that is either forced inside of the cylinder or sucked inside of the cylinder, and gas mixture, and it helps ignite it because gas is so much less volatile than like diesel, which doesn't need a spark plug. It starts to evaporate very quickly, so you need to get it to spark using a spark plug so that it can actually blow up and give the motor power, turn the crankshaft, giving the engine power. And so he took one of the spark plugs out, was only running on 3 cylinders, and it just incredibly horrible noise, and the exhaust just sounded like absolute shit, and it still wasn't working. So he took the propane, made it like able to shoot more propane than it was before by increasing the size of the hole that it was losing out of. And then there was a ball bearing that was inside of one of the release valves that was getting in the way. It was causing there to not be enough pressure, and so he drilled into it and took the ball bearing out, and still wasn't able to do it with the spark. But they got a blowtorch and they put it near it, and he released the fucking propane, and of course it sets fire now, because now you're just putting flame up against gas, and not a good mixture. He ends up burning his rear bumper a little bit and burning some of the paint because the paint set fire a little bit. And such a terrible idea. I loved that he did it. It was hilarious. They inevitably got it to work. They got I think they had what did they use? I think they taped it. No, they used a tripod, like a GoPro tripod, to stick it to the bumper, and so that the propane would come out of the exhaust, and the blowtorch was just sitting right there at the end of the exhaust tip. And so it would set fire while he was driving. And there you go. You got it. He spit flames. But it was such a terrible experience to watch because I was like, dude, you're just fucking up your car just to be like, just to make a meme at this point. Which, hey, it's his car. So he can do whatever he wants with it, right? It's his work of art. It's not mine. If it was my car, I'd never do it. Never once. I'd fucking... I'd lose it. But watching stuff like that definitely has a lot of... It gives me a lot of joy to see people's faces when they finally see their builds are done, or when they get a new part and they finally get it in and it works, or, you know, like TJ Hunt, like back in the day when he was just, you know, starting, and when he got his BRZ and he finally put the supercharger in and all that stuff. Got the fucking baddest exhaust, good. It was a shining moment. It's not so much now. Seeing him with his C8. He's got a Corvette C8, the fucking new one, the rear mid-engine V8, the LS. And seeing him with that now, it's not as enticing. I don't get excited for him. I'm just like, yeah, you have all the fucking money in the world now to go and do with this, I guess. Just do whatever you want with it. But him with, when he was first starting out, or when he got the RX-7, or when he got the 350Z and he started doing the drift build with it, like, he fucking, what did he do? He 2JZ swapped it, and then blew the turbos on the 2JZ, and got a big turbo, and then I think he fucking blew that motor and had to go and get another one put in. Watching him work on that thing, though, it was always so exciting. Always such a blessing to see people and have their happiness shown through the expressions on their face. I mean, you could easily tell that he was so fucking happy to see everything that he'd worked for so thus far working out. I'm looking at this NSX on my screen, and I feel like the diameter of the rim is different on both sides. I feel like the front rims are bigger by like 2 inches maybe, or even, by an inch in diameter than the rear ones, and the tires in the front are definitely slimmer than the ones in the back. The ones in the back are thicker. But I don't know if the diameters are really... No, the diameters are definitely different. It's sitting flush. Yeah. The wheels in the front are bigger. It's annoying me, and I keep looking at it. I've looked at it this entire time that I've been talking now, because I have it on all 3 of my monitors. It's sitting in the middle monitor right now, and I'm just like, what are you... Who did this, and why? But hey, it's their build, right? This car is still beautiful. Everything that's on it is tasteful. And that's the thing, is that a lot of people will go out of their way to get this really aggressive, front bumper, or this huge diffuser, or front splitter, or whatever it might be. And, hey, that's your choice, obviously. I'll never do it. I will never do that. I will always just have, a bumper, maybe a wide body. The side skirts, I never like being too aggressive. And the rear bumper. And a spoiler, and maybe even the hood. But I won't get like lips like that. I won't get diffusers like that. I won't get... The only part of this car that I don't like is the side skirt. I just don't like it. I don't like it just makes the car look huge when it doesn't have to. Just incredibly huge. I do like aggressive exhausts, and I do like aggressive wheels, and I like aggressive tires, but I just do not like when the entire body is just filled with aero. Which is, for people out there who might not understand, aero is like canards that you'll put on the sides of your front bumper or even on the sides of your rear bumper, and it allows for air to wrap smoothly around the car so that you're being as aerodynamic as possible so that you're not catching any drag. Drag is a bad thing. Drag is a bad thing in a lot of cars. Some people like drag. They want that extra grip on their rear tires, especially if they put a giant spoiler that goes really high. There's reasons for that. There's tasteful reasons for that, and then there's just, what the fuck are you doing, dog? Like people that'll put a giant spoiler on their fucking Honda Civic. Like, dude, you have a front wheel drive motor. You don't have a drive shaft. There's no rear. It doesn't have rear wheel drive. Why are you doing this? You're not getting any downforce. You're just creating more drag. You're gonna go slower. But that's what aero is. It's to help the car become more aerodynamic so that it helps with acceleration and keeping the car on the ground. And there's a lot of factors that come with aerodynamics in a car. But the main point of that was like drag. It's to help reduce drag. It's to help with it helps guide the air around the vehicle as much as possible so that you're not catching drag in spots where it shouldn't be. If that makes sense. Hopefully it makes sense. Splitters and diffusers do that as well. Even the side skirts here, I'm sure that it's got a flap towards the rear of the lip, and it looks like it's aerodynamic. It's got aero on it. It's a little wing that comes out, and that helps guide air around the wheel so that it's not getting stuck inside of the wheel well and then causing drag to happen because the air is not able to escape from there, slowing the car down. But I mean, that's kind of like all I have to say about the cars. And I'm sure in later episodes there's going to be a lot more to talk about with cars. This is just, like scratching the surface. Obviously there's a lot more to go into, and although I'm not a professional and I'm not a fucking genius when it comes to finding out compression ratios or even like torque ratios or figuring out how you got this much more horsepower. Well, that's kind of easy, figuring out how you gain horsepower, but tuning, I'll never understand tuning. I mean, I understand how it works. I'll never know how to do it, and I never will because it's too fucking complex for me. But I'd even like to learn some stuff while I'm on here. So even bringing people on here and, obviously introducing myself to them, and hopeful that they can teach me a little bit of shit about cars. Music. Music has always shared a good place in my heart. I don't go a day where I don't listen to music. It's pretty hard not to hear music somewhere, but I mean, like, for me myself to not physically listen to music is pretty difficult. I usually drive my car once a day at most, and I'm always playing my music in the car, so I'm always hearing music. I'm a very old stylist. I don't like newer stuff. Newer stuff tends to be more simple, not complex, redundant, repetitive. It's like the same shit you hear every fucking day. It's like if I turn on the radio, oh look, there's Rihanna again. Oh, it's the same shit she put out 4 or 5 years ago. Like, I don't care about it. I like older stuff. I like old rock. I like old heavy metal, especially like Metallica. Huge Metallica fan. I love Metallica. I'm not the all-knowing fan that some people might be, but hey, I can name all the fucking band members, and I have a list of songs that I love by them. And although I've never seen them in concert, because I've never been fortunate enough to do that, it's something that's on my bucket list, is to at least see Metallica play once. I'm a big, um, like old school hip hop fan. I love Eminem. Eminem is one of my, I wouldn't say role models, and I wouldn't even say idol, but he's somebody that I listen to and I hear the emotion in his songs, and it takes me to a different place. He's that good at storytelling. He's the best rapper of all time, and I've listened to a lot of rap, and he's just the best lyricist that's ever lived. No question, no doubt in my mind. But I like old school West Coast. I like old school East Coast. I mean, Pac and Biggie. Everybody's always got them on their top five. I wouldn't say necessarily they're on my top five. I can listen to them, but I can't listen to them for a long time because I'll get bored. But I like Dr. Dre's producing, like the Chronic album. I use Amazon Music Unlimited, and they added like a month ago the Chronic album to it. Finally, I was able to fucking hear it on there. Oh, look at that! I'm still connected to a fucking Bluetooth speaker in my room. But I love listening to the Chronic. It's not about the lyrics in that one. It's about the beats, mostly. And I know what you're saying. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot of what the premise is of hip hop nowadays, is mostly the beats and not the lyrics. But he puts a lot more substance and care into his beat making. He's a fucking perfectionist, and he's the greatest producer of all time in hip hop, no doubt about it. No one will compare to his ability to take music and to a different direction. He was a pioneer of the West Coast game, and he was definitely a pioneer of some of the East Coast. Some East Coast rappers have used this shit before. When you talk about a Dre track, you're talking about Dr. Dre. You're talking about fucking Dre. And listening to his meticulousness, you can hear it, the emotion in some of his beats. Especially on The Chronic 2001. So many good beats on there. So many good beats. The Chronic itself is just filled with masterpieces. And although it was set in, 91 is when it came out, he even used some East Coast, like, style. Not, if you understand East Coast hip hop, you can hear it. They're using the samples. He used a lot of samples when he was making his music. And that was fuck. That was one of the reasons why I decided to start listening to more East Coast, was because I heard a lot of it in there. But I love Nas. Just listen to J. Cole's like thing on Nas, and Nas's response to him earlier today, after seeing the whole Joyner Lucas with Will Smith remix that came out. Will Smith, hey man, I used to not like Will Smith just because I do like hip hop that has cussing in it. It's not the fact that it has the cussing in it, because Eminem has put 2 songs out where he says fuck once. It's the substance that counts. I might start looking more into Will Smith, but he put some bars out, and they're amazing. He's a really talented rapper, even though he's fucking how old? And it's been how long since he actually made anything? That just shows you don't take the rap out of someone who's a rapper. They take the rap with them. But I think that's a good place to stop. It's been good talking. Hopefully I'll get something up next time. Maybe I'll have somebody on with me. Who knows? But I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And stay beautiful. Deuces.